What's up, man?
Hey guys, good morning. Burst FTSO, I just sent you a invite to speak.
He's ready.
Perfect. All right. Do you want to do the intro, Steven?
I absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us today, wherever you may be or whenever you may be listening to this awesome recording. Today, we're bringing up one of our great FTSO providers to kind of learn more about him, their why, what they do, and kind of dive into their project a little bit. So, thank you, Burst, for joining us today, man.
Hey, great to be on here. Thanks everyone for joining. Really appreciate you, Stephen and Whale, having us on here on the Flare Forward podcast slash space slash everything content that you guys are doing. It's awesome.
We have no idea. We're just making it up as we kind of go along. Like we're just like, oh, this seems cool. Let's try it. See what people think.
Love it, love it. Yeah, it's a great asset to the community to have all this great content getting out there. So happy to be on here.
Oh well, we
Thank you, man.
appreciate it
Appreciate it.
so much.
How should we call you?
You can call me Jason. So I work with Rob, who's the CEO at Burst. So I've been with him for since kind of the end of last year, so going on maybe 6 months now. And I manage all the marketing, the community engagement, the content side of things. Really like doing whatever we can to, support the Flare ecosystem, support our partners, support the community, all of that sort of thing. And then Rob takes care of all the everything, the building, the website launch that we had this week, all the technical side of the project, the delegating, the staking. He manages all of
Awesome. Well, there's no pressure because it's not like he's listening in on his call or anything. Just throwing it
that.
out for you.
Exactly. We've done a few of these already, so I'm good on that.
Awesome. Well, we always like to start with like an origin story. So, how did you get into crypto yourself?
Yeah, so I can actually do my origin story and Rob's because I've got kind of his story that he's told me. But yeah, on my side, I can start. I've always been fascinated by crypto and just the technology itself, blockchain technology, how it creates all these new ways for people to engage with so many different possibilities. And I started working full time in crypto in 2021. I worked for an NFT ecosystem, so I had NFTs across Binance, Ethereum, Base. We launched a couple of tokens, and I did that for a year and a half, leading marketing and community efforts. But with the NFT kind of boom and then bust, I knew that might not have the longevity or like maybe the focus that I wanted. So I started looking more into DeFi and started working with a couple of different DeFi. I worked with a DeFi lending protocol and then a staking protocol. And then just kind of took all that experience and realized just how powerful, crypto and blockchain can be when it's done well. But I also realized how complex the space is and just how fragmented it is. So when I stumbled into Flare, kind of all those pieces for me just clicked. Like Flare to me was a blockchain that wasn't trying to tout like these massive transaction per second numbers. It was really focused on this challenge of solving interoperability, making it easy to move data, tokens, whatever, allowing apps to build on the ecosystem. And that to me was a total game changer. So when I started working with Burst, it was really this opportunity to come in and not only help build the Burst delegation community, but just really support Flare overall because we're succeeding. A bunch of small ships in this massive ecosystem, we can all help rise that tide together. So it's just a really great opportunity to just come in and strengthen the ecosystem, help push for transparency, support the community, all that great stuff.
I love that. I love that. So, what is Rob's origin story?
Yeah, so Rob, so basically he's always kind of been this builder, right? Like kind of in the, like the Renaissance man sort of way, like not necessarily like a classic artistic sort of sense. Like he wasn't, into drawing or painting, but it was always like hooked on this idea of like solving problems, building from scratch, and figuring how to take all these moving pieces and put them together. So he really got into programming early on and used that to kind of, you know, as an outlet for his, I guess, creativity and his passion for building. And so he's been in, just that programming space for like 20 years. Like the early days working with like JavaScript and Solidity. But I think over time he realized that there was something missing, right? So he was looking at ways that he could kind of get out of that corporate grind, and so he discovered Bitcoin, as many of us did. Um, and at first, he was just watching from the sidelines, buying in here and there. But then the concept of decentralization and self-sovereign ownership and permissionless systems really stuck for him. So I think it was around 2019 that he started really diving into Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, a few different tokens like that. But he really wanted to, I think, transition from this like passive investor to somebody building on the blockchain, building to help grow crypto. And so for him, I think it was around 2021 that he got into Flare. The XRP airdrop was grabbing a ton of attention at that point. And the more he dug into it, the more he saw that Flare was kind of that technology he'd been looking for, where he could, take the smart contract aspect, the utility aspect, the FTSO system, and he just like dove into that, binge reading, understanding what it would take to put something together. And then in 2022, he launched the Flare FTSO burst. And as one would expect, it was a huge learning curve, lots of late nights, lots of trial and error. But as somebody that I've worked with for the past 5 or 6 months, I can tell you that he's driven, he's curious, he's always ready to improve, to build something that matters. And we've seen a lot of that over the last couple of weeks with the new website that we launched and everything. But yeah, I've been really impressed with everything that he's done, and it's been a pleasure working with him.
Amazing.
Oh,
This is super nice. Okay, so what have been some challenges that you have found by being an FTSO?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the biggest challenges start off with the data oracle, the data piece of it is not something that is easily and readily known out in the world. It's the process of having multiple data oracles processing like accurate, trustworthy data in a decentralized fashion is very unique to Flare, right? And so you've got this kind of like almost like give and take sort of mentality. Like on one hand, you've got this wide range of price sources, so you're not relying on this like small group that could manipulate or misreport data. But then on the other hand, just like collecting and aggregating and reporting on that data is like massively resource intensive. So I think it's the constant balancing act. But Rob being like obviously again, like I said, very hands on. Making sure that he's uploading when he needs to, he's processing when he needs to, and just like managing that piece of things is a full time job for him. And then just like from the content standpoint too, I think the challenge of like spreading the word about Flare to all of these other people in these other ecosystems that may not understand or see the value because the full ecosystem is incomplete, or the products aren't built out yet, or F assets is still in beta mode and testing mode, so we don't necessarily have these things that we can show them that show up on price charts right away. But I think at the end of the day, everyone that's in now is in a really good place. Like we're still early, even though we've been in the game for years and years. To what that long term picture looks like, a few years down the road.
awesome. So you kind of gave us a little bit about your origin story and some of the struggles. So what is y'all's why? Why keep getting up and facing these struggles, these issues, and getting through them? I mean, it's not just obviously money, because if it was money, like, I mean, there's probably different areas you could go after for that.
Yeah, no, I mean definitely. I think at the end of the day, again, like you look at Rob's combination of just wanting to build and my combination of just like, thinking community growth, community engagement. And I think Flair is just, in my opinion, their superpower is the ability to let everyone else shine. So again, like you look at all these other blockchains, they all have their different strengths, their different weaknesses, but Flair's design is about giving each product or each project room to bring its own strength to the mix, whether that's DeFi, whether that's NFTs, liquid staking, like whatever. It's just this all-inclusive environment. And again, I think this end goal of interoperability, like bringing all of these pieces together. So again, it's developers, users. You have this ability to hop between chains potentially, without having to do all the heavy lifting you had to do before, going through different bridges and different wallets to make things happen. It just seems Flare is really working towards this, less friction, more possibility, more rich user and developer experience sort of end game. And that I think both of us is just incredibly exciting.
Totally. So somebody just asked me, what are the requirements to be a FTSO? So I think that would be a good information for somebody that is interested.
Yeah, I know Flare has some great documentation, and they've got some great video content on there. So in terms of like the technical requirements, that's something that Rob would have to answer. But at the end of the day, once you have the gear and the product all set up and built out, it's really about making sure that you're managing a reliable price feed. You have that solid infrastructure, so you're maintaining uptime, because each FTSO needs to submit price data at regular intervals. So you've got to have a pretty reliable server, internet connectivity, that sort of thing. Whenever Flare launches a new pair, or something else happens, you've got to be able to manage frequent price updating, so you can't be submitting stale data. And then from the community side, obviously there's the delegating and the staking aspect. So you really got to not only have your all that technical stuff set up, so you're maintaining that uptime, so your rewards are managed properly, but you've also got to attract community members and show them why they should delegate with you or stake with you. So you've got to have a pretty solid reputation to attract that. And then yeah, again, that, like I said, that technical know-how, the running scripts, the APIs, the servers, all of that is the stuff that Rob manages. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but I think at the end of the day, we're all excited to be part of that big FTSO environment.
Yeah, for that, he was telling us that it's like a full-time job having
Yeah.
a FPSO.
Yeah, no, we communicate on Slack, and he's 3 hours ahead of me, and I'll be working late at night, and he's still he's still online. So
Right?
I know he's burning the midnight oil.
Oh, wow.
He's hilarious to chat with, I tell you what.
Yeah, he's great.
Awesome. Are you guys planning on being an agent for F assets?
I know he's definitely considering that. There's a lot of other pieces to that. So I know right now we're just focused on just building out. We launched our website, like we talked about, and I can give more details on that in a little bit. But we wanted to really like build a user experience for Flare community members, to just like not necessarily have to navigate to 3 or 4 different sites on Flare to take care of all the business, from like delegating, staking, reward claims, Flare drops, all of that. So really trying to help out where we can there. And then yeah, again, just continue to provide a better experience in that delegating and FTSO environment. So I think an agent for F assets is a possibility, but not decided yet.
Yeah, so we
Awesome.
we we did some sleuthing on Scepter,
Nice,
and
nice.
we were trying to test your website, and then we also wanted to see how Scepter is delegating or the validators. and it was really helpful to you have your website. I really like the layout and the
Oh,
information that you're providing.
oh, it was awesome site. Very awesome. Very user friendly. And I mean, there's blinking numbers like red, green. Like you can't screw it up if you just take the time to walk through it. Like
Right.
you guys made it idiot proof. I mean, I mean that in the nicest way, but like there's not much dumber you could make it. And it's just incredible how you've taken the data and going, okay, these are the negatives. Look, there's a
Right.
sign. You can't miss it. We're blinking red. Red is bad.
Yeah, like crypto is complicated enough already, and that's a big thing for both of us. Is just the simplified user experience, simplified user onboarding. Both of those are really key to just crypto growing in the future as we continue to talk about like getting normies or mainstream audiences into crypto. But yeah, I mean, like when you look at a lot of other financially focused websites, whether it's like 401k plans or things like that, these companies try to do what they can to make it, like you said, idiot proof. So whether you're 22 years old starting a new job, or you're 75 years old and you're not as computer savvy as your kids might be, making it easy to see like, okay, if you want to delegate to an FTSO, great, but like one of the criteria to keep in mind is FTSOs can get over delegated, meaning they've surpassed their share of delegation, and your
Bifrost.
yeah your rewards are going to dip because of that. So making that very obvious to people so they can make informed decisions.
Love
Can you
that.
tell us why that happens? Like, why is that dynamic in place?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people just tend to look at like the reward returns, right? Like they'll see a number and think, "Oh, this number's high," but they don't understand maybe that it cycles through every time the reward comes up. So what they've got to be able to understand is you can also switch your delegation, you can split your delegation. So you have all that information in front of you. So not only do you have the full breakdown of what the rewards are, what the validator uptime is, like all of those types of pieces, but you can also see when you go in to actually delegate whether or not that FTSO is currently over delegated or not. So it just makes it very simple to see that, and then you can say, okay, well, this one's in the red, then I need to go back and maybe look at another option, or this one's in the yellow, so they're close to that delegation limit. Maybe I need to look at another option.
Awesome.
Is there
So
is there a way that you could have like a notification if you have a like because things change and maybe you're not checking every month, and if at some point your delegator was over delegated, is there a way to get a notification? Like,
Yeah,
could that
that's
be a feature that you could
yeah. So
implement?
like a proactive, like you're currently delegating with an FTSO that's now over delegated. Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that I can bring up with Rob and see what that would entail. But I mean, a lot of the data that we're getting should be similar, so it would just mean adding a notification feature to that. But yeah, I get what you're saying, because a lot of people put their delegation in, and then it's like the set it and forget it, right? You're just collecting those rewards, but it would be nice if you could see when you maybe go to collect your delegation rewards, if a little notification was there saying you're currently delegating with somebody that's over delegated or something like that.
Yeah, that could be a good like you said, like we've been saying, like simplify everything and make it easy for people to make decisions.
Yeah, I think Rob just added that to the roadmap, so there you go, dynamic feature additions happening as we go.
oh, he's dropping out. He dropped out. He's like, oh man, now I'm getting promised new things. He bounced back.
He did. He's going to start coding that right now. He, like I told you, he gets an idea, or we had a couple of people in the community suggest something after the site launched, and we had a couple of things that we can talk about that dropped, and within a day or two, he had those coded and updated. So very, very amenable to community and user feedback.
So I have a question for you. Why are the delegation rewards and staking so different from one provider to another? What makes a provider have like better rewards?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of all those factors. So the way the FTSO reward system works through Flare, it's a matter of um, how frequent the FTSO is signing for the rewards, and how often they're signing for uptime. So basically, Flare is rewarding FTSOs that are actively managing their price feeds, actively signing each of the different reward epochs because they need a certain number of FTSOs to sign them. And obviously, we don't want to keep community members waiting on rewards. So the faster that set kind of minimum number of STSOs can sign off on those epochs, then the quicker those rewards get dispensed. So they take that into account, and then they take into account um, just again like that delegation amount. So each FTSO has a value that they can delegate up to based on the collateral that they've put in. And so once it's reached that point, it's just a way for kind of Flare to, make sure that an FTSO isn't managing more than it can handle necessarily, or more than it's put into the game. So it's just a way to keep things, kind of like fair, but also like reward the ones that are putting in the work.
Yeah, that's great. So if it was up to you, what changes would you do to the FTSO system?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what Flare 2.0 looks like. I know Rob and I were talking about it, and we're just as interested to know, like, is Flare 2.0 going to have the same reward structure for FTSOs? Is it going to have the same scoring system, the same data submission process? Because all of that stuff, impacts Flare network overall, and then looking at how Flare wants to continue to scale and maintain security and transparency and all of that. I think the system is a good system, so I don't know that there are any specific changes that I could point to right now, but I know, like, for all of us, we just want to see Flare continue to grow and thrive, and add more tokens, build out F assets, which is going to be a major boon for the whole community, and others that we want to bring in. So I think anything that continues to support that progress and scalability, we would be fully on board with.
So what are you guys looking to do with the Flare 2.0? I know we were talking with Jay from Spendabits yesterday, and he was super excited about Flare 2.0 and the protocol managed wallets because everything he's been trying to accomplish was kind of what the protocol managed wallets will solve
Yeah.
for him in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think the biggest thing for us as well. I mean, like I mentioned before, we've talked so long about, like, the biggest barrier to crypto is just this, like, complicated user experience, right? And I mean, when I started in 2021 working full time, I mean, the onboarding flow for a user compared to what I had done in Web 2 in a previous lifetime was like night and day. Like, you're explaining private keys and seed phrases and bridging tokens, and it's so much that if you're not, like, into it, then like, one little mistake can cost you everything, right? So the protocol managed wallets, I think, is what we're most excited about too. I mean, that way Flare takes all of that complexity and just, like, hides it under the hood of the car, and there are fewer steps for anyone that wants to jump in. It's still the same secure environment overall, but really, like, you don't need this, like, massive crash course on, like, just how to get started and how to fund a wallet. It's really like you can jump in and you've got your wallet signed up with email or whatever it may be, and, like, start exploring the dApps on Flare, like, just enjoy the experience. And to me, that's the key to mainstream adoption, and it's always, I think, been what crypto and blockchain communities talked about. Like, it's got to feel less like a chore and more like a natural extension of what everyone is doing in their digital life day to day, interacting with their TradFi institutions or interacting with e-commerce shops. I mean, it's got to be the exact same kind of experience for this to really work.
Yeah, we were talking to Dave earlier, and that was one of the things I was joking about because we were doing like this. Whale had this nice box out of like these workflows that he'd like to do pairs and trading for. How awesome it would be for them to be able to take the AI kit, take a screenshot of maybe that strategy we're looking at, and deploy it very simply with the AI solution as well. So I think it's really cool some of the possibilities that are opening up with both the AI and Flare 2.0.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think again, you just see all of these different protocols like starting to gravitate towards that, and then the AI agent piece that's happening across tech just in general. And there's so much room for growth and just again simplifying that user experience, making it easy. I mean, you talked about adding notifications to delegating. I mean, imagine like having an AI agent built in that's, doing a lot of the background work for you in DeFi and telling you about opportunities based on some set criteria that you put into place, or, an investment strategy that you put into place, and not having to be at your computer 24/7 if you want to take advantage of, opportunities that come up.
Okay, so I think we got a little bit excited and then we missed one of the questions that we always make. In your personal opinion, how do you see crypto affecting your life in 5 or 10 years?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, kind of along the lines of what we've talked about. I mean, 5 years from now, the dream would be that, crypto is mainstream. We're talking about it, in the regular flow of life, and it's not something that's kind of this niche off to the side where people are only talking about it on X or Twitter. There's user friendly interfaces. There's like a clear regulatory framework in place, so there's not a hassle from on the U.S. side, like administration to administration, rules constantly changing. But yeah, I mean, like from the data side of things, I'd say like seeing blockchains fully intertwined in the broad digital world, oracles being the linchpin. So like whether it's microloans, whether it's insurance, all of that stuff is built in and automated via smart contracts. So it's just blockchain becomes this like invisible backbone to things that we do and interact with every single day. And it just again like the Oracle price feed like DeFi piece of things is like I think just scratching the surface. I mean, there's ways that you can build this in. So, you're getting ready to fly somewhere, and the data oracle detects that there's a flight delay and notifies you. Or, supply chain, there's a shipment that's coming in, you're getting notified about that tracking. All that kind of stuff. I mean, there's just there's so many possibilities to think about what it could look like, but 5 years down the road could just be like this massive shift.
Do you think that blockchains are built for retail, for institutions, for developers? Like that's something that I've been trying to figure out because I'm not so sure who's the target audience for blockchains currently.
Yeah, I think that depends on which blockchain you're talking about, and I think that's kind of the trick, right? Is each blockchain has kind of been built with a specific user in mind. Um, I mean, institutions are drawn to this, like this regulatory clarity and robust infrastructure, right? And I don't think blockchains at this point can match the infrastructure or the scalability that TradFi institutions have. And then on the retail side, people want that like smooth onboarding, that simple interface, and we're not there yet either. But I think the possibility for blockchain to build for all of those audiences could easily happen. I think right now it's probably skewed more towards the developer focus, but it'd be great to see Flare becoming that blockchain that is what everyone needs. It bridges this like enterprise grade technology. It's got this user friendly experience, so institutions can build and bring their scale. Retail can bring the community, and then everything just flows like I talked about, where you have the blockchain interacting with your life in all different areas.
Yeah, I'm starting to, I mean, I'm trying to figure this out just yet, but I think that eventually what's going to happen is that, for example, Google partners with Flare, and then Google offers the, like you were saying, the flight's details, and
Yeah.
then a user can just go and check their Google, and they can know that the information that they're getting is very accurate, but they have no idea how that information is getting to Google.
Right, right, right.
So I feel like, yeah, I feel like this is just a very unique opportunity for retail to get involved. But I don't know if retail is actually the target audience for crypto, because it's not that it's they're excluded. It's just that I feel like crypto is too complex and too back end. Like it works more on the back end than for the average user. So it's an interesting thing to see where that's going to lead in 5 or 10 years, and especially with AI that just simplifies a lot of things. I'm very curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think at the end of the day, it's really like retail institution, like it's blockchain has to ensure that there's minimal risk, like security audits, clear guardrails, governance structures, all of that stuff just has to, like as much as we talk about like decentralization and all of that, there's got to be some framework in place that would make large institutions comfortable with bringing their scale, or again, retail customers being able to jump in and understand the full experience across the board. So I think Flare's got an opportunity to position itself in the middle of that space, and kind of take ownership of that, especially with um, the way that the XRP run is going to happen. I know Hugo had talked about potential stablecoin in a poll or a post that he had put out. So yeah, I think they're Hugo and team are trying to figure it out just as much as we're talking about it, right? Like where is that kind of like impetus going to come from? Is it going to be the institutional side, the retail side? Where's that going to come from?
For sure. So I'm looking at your post from 2 hours ago, and you said that you have a big feature announcement. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, so we'll talk about a couple of things that we have going on. So we've got on the new site, we just launched dark mode, which that's from a user
Yay! I'm gonna
user
check it out.
standpoint,
I think that was the first request out of Will's
right?
mouth.
Right. No, that's one that, again, like when you're when you're burning the midnight oil and it's 10 o'clock, you don't want that bright screen shining in your face. So you'll see right where you connect to your wallet on the site. There's a little sun or a moon icon there, so that allows you to switch between light mode and dark mode.
It
Um,
looks amazing. I'm checking it right now. It looks amazing, by the
Awesome.
way.
No, that's great to hear. And then right under the price feed, we've got a feedback form that we added. So what this form allows you to do is submit feedback in a different variety of ways. So like if you find a typo or a bug on the site, if you've got a UI or UX improvement suggestion, a feature idea, or a security vulnerability that you see, we've got different reward numbers in place. So you can get rewarded in Flare for submitting any of that, and you just add your wallet address, your X username, and then add that feedback into the form, send it to us, and then we'll get working on that. But yeah, we'll make sure you guys add the notifications into that feedback form so we can send you your tip jar on that one as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then you said that you have a few more surprises for us.
Yeah, so the one big thing that we're working on now is the wallet integration. So currently, we're just set up with MetaMask, but we're going to be releasing in, I mean, I think pretty soon here. Like, if not a week, then pretty soon after, integration with the top 20 wallets. So Bifrost, Trust, Brave, Coinbase, OKX, BitKeep, like Tahoe, like basically the framework for those top wallets to be integrated. So that way, most people are using Bifrost, and you can connect to burstnodes.com with your Bifrost wallet, and then go from there. So again, just like trying to expand access, trying to expand simplicity, user accessibility, all of those things.
That's amazing. Um, is anyone from the community have a question? You can ask to speak. Stevie,
So first,
yeah,
I wanna follow up with some curiosity, right? So we've talked to four dads, and again, I don't know how in depth and long you've kind of been with Flair, and if you have any great stories. But you know, Board Ads had shared stories with us and different things that kind of it's well, let me kind of say it like this. It's kind of interesting where Flare is very siloed. It feels like you got the network builders, and there's a lot of great in communication, different things that you learn. Like if you happen to dip into their area where they do a lot of talking and stuff, you know, so you can learn from them. I'm learning the FTSO. You guys have a lot of communication avenues y'all use and communicate with each other as well. Like I said, you've talked to Ford ads a lot of times, and so you know the DAP builders even have communication sections where they communicate. So it's kind of funny as we're kind of bouncing between them, but I'm really curious on if you have any stories that validate why Flare goes the way they do with validators, right? I know because I'm kind of going with like Chainlink in different areas who only have few validators. And the thing is that talking to some of the FTSO guys, we've realized that there's people have tried to manipulate Flare, but because we have so many validators so distributed, that it was very difficult and caught. But I'd love to hear if you have any feedback or stories on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of those like four dads type stories would have to come from Rob, but in my experience, and yeah, I mean, they have they have their like Telegram groups or whatever they're communicating on. So there's I'm sure like a lot of fun stuff that happens on that.
Oh, I have no doubt. Yeah, yeah. If you can find them, I'm sure it's freaking
Yeah,
awesome.
but yeah, I think I mean the interesting thing for me is again like I'm coming in from more of this like content community side of things. When I first started working with Burst, one of the first things I wanted to do was just kind of dive into like what the other FTSOs were doing and kind of get an understanding for that landscape. And there was a lot of just like kind of retweeting the Flare account or like just kind of pushing basic content out there. And me coming from like this community engagement side where we're doing NFTs and DeFi and tokens, there's like the main like community engagement channel is Twitter if it's not Discord. So I wanted to create an environment where like with Flare, you would assume that like all the FTSOs are, working together, but also kind of like in competition with each other for the delegation and the staking, which like to a degree is true. But I think the way we kind of look at it is just this big collaborative environment, right? And wanting to, again, like support other FTSOs, support content they're pushing out, support them when they're on spaces or whatever it is, and then have that same kind of thing come back as well. So I think you know, like not again like any crazy stories or anything, but just understanding that what separates Flare from the chain links or these other blockchains is that that ability to bring in all of these different FTSOs. Anyone can set one up and get running on it because again, like this ability to collaborate with each other and also compete with each other creates an incentive structure that maintains that integrity and then transparency to make sure that no one can kind of mess with the price feeds or manipulate the price feeds in any way.
Are you
Oh, I
familiar
get
with the hyperliquid situation that happened last week, I think?
I saw some of that on Twitter. I don't know the full details on it, but I did see some of that going down in crypto Twitter for sure.
Yeah, so somebody was shorting
Right.
themselves, and then I think Hyperliquid was able to manipulate the price of the oracles
Yeah, and they still made
to
some. They
counter the
still made
attack.
some money on that. Hyperliquid did.
Yeah, no, actually, like Hyperliquid made the money instead of the
Right.
hacker, but it also showed how easy it is for them to manipulate the prices,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of
Yeah.
the biggest value propositions of Flare.
Yeah, no, and that's a scary thing, right? Because again, when we talk decentralization, you assume that that means that the control doesn't exist like that for the ability to do that. But a lot of people don't realize that these blockchains do have that opportunity to manipulate those prices when it makes sense, or that type of thing.
So, how I understand is that you guys right now you're getting the price feeds, like that's mostly the data that you're getting.
Correct.
So if the data that you're getting is incorrect, then you also read incorrect data. So how do you guys counter that?
I think it's again just the number of sources that are porting in that price feed data. So that's coming from different sources, and you're assuming that if you're reporting on a price feed you've got to be within a certain benchmark of everyone else to be able to get credited for that upload. So um, that process again of having 90 or 100 different FTSOs that are all striving, ideally in theory striving to report the most accurate price feed within that certain time frame that's required, then you're going to have like on average a more accurate number than you would if you just had one oracle or one entity providing that price.
So for what I'm understanding is like XRP price feed, you're getting it, let's say 5 sources. Is that 5 sources the same for all the FTSOs?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think the FTSOs have the ability to utilize different sources, but that's something that Rob would have to answer. I don't have the details on that exactly.
And then, for example, there's these guys that released a stable coin for the Mexican peso, and they have it on Solana and they have it on Base. If I wanted to like propose that price feed for the FTSO, what are the requirements to bring in a new price feed? Do you know
I
that?
don't know. That's something I'd have to look up myself too, or Rob would have to answer. But yeah, Flare has specific requirements for introducing new price feeds, like they did with the Trump token when that came online. So I'm sure they have a process or some documentation around that on their site.
Yeah, I don't
I
remember.
know you
I
can.
know that it's like a certain volume, and
Right.
then I think it has to be listed in at least 2 major
Exchanges.
exchanges or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Professor X, man, you got a question for XRP?
Yeah, I think it's just basically a rumor, but I think I heard that to be an FTSO, you also have to provide prices for like F assets as well, or that you have to be running a Bitcoin node as well as anything else that is going to be coming down through the system. Is that right, or am I totally off base?
That's for the data connector,
Yeah, the
no?
FTC.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because that
Yeah.
seems like that's so complicated. Like, holy cow, to be an FTSO would require so much overhead.
Oh, it's not cheap. We've talked to several of them. It's not cheap. Plus, you gotta put like 12 million flare up
Right. Right.
front too. It's not cheap.
So it's not like the old days where anybody could spin up a Bitcoin miner and just off of their laptop, something like that. I mean, to be an FTSO requires some upfront capital for sure.
100%. Yeah, yeah. The day you can't even really do that much on Bitcoin anymore. You wouldn't
Well,
get
no,
anything.
not
So
anymore. No.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we're well past those days in the
Yeah,
crypto
so on
industry.
the
There are a
FTSO
few
side, you do have
projects.
to be running a Bitcoin, a Doge, an XRP, and an ETH node. So each of those are required for the FTSOs.
Yikes.
Yeah. So coming back to what you were asking, the FTC is the Flare Data Connector, and that's like a witness in other chains. So for that to happen, each FTSO needs to have a validator on the other networks, so that they can prove that that transaction happened
Right.
on the other network. Is that correct?
Yes, and yeah, maintaining those nodes allows that to happen. And then that includes obviously Songbird and Flare as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I got to kind of follow up on that. So obviously we work with different DApp builders and stuff because obviously when somebody rolls something out, it's not perfect. And talking to Four Dads, there's always suggestions for improvements. So what's that like working to get improvements like on y'all's level for the node providers and different processes possibly for you guys? Is that easy? Is there a channel y'all use, or I mean, how does that really play out of curiosity?
Yeah, I mean, I know they have, like I said, the Telegram channel where all the FTSOs are connected and collaborating. And in terms of like bringing down information from Flare, obviously, whenever Flare makes a change that impacts the FTSOs, then everyone's got to work together to figure out what that's going to mean and what steps are required or what process is required to build that out. Um, a lot of the proposals that come down that make changes. I mean, we're seeing those when the users are seeing those, and then yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
I didn't
Well,
realize that.
like it's not like in its final form, so there is like a heads up. Like Flare will say like, hey, this is coming down the pipeline. This is going to get submitted. But a lot of times it's like you're seeing the early draft versions, and then getting the final versions once the votes are starting. So I think a lot of that stuff does require the ability to be flexible and move nimbly, just like any other startup in any tech environment will have to do when things change. You've got to be able to adapt and move quickly to make adjustments. So I think a lot of that exists in the FTSO space, and then across builders all over the place in blockchain and tech across the board. But yeah, I mean, it's just I think that mindset, right? Like knowing that things can change and you've got to be able to adapt or make adjustments, and just being ready to do that when the time comes.
Awesome. Whale's got to take off. Do you have any last questions, Whale?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I have to go. Thank you so much for this, and I'll leave you with Steven and the rest of the team.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Thank you again, Will.
Thank you so much, and very nice to meet you
Yeah,
all.
you too.
All right, until next time.
Awesome. So I got a question here. uh, how do y'all go about your process? So, talking to Four Dads and actually talking to a few other FTSO providers, everybody's kind of got, obviously slightly different approach for how they do the data feeds. I know Four Dads talks about how they just, they take it, they hand it over. Some guys are using a more advanced algorithm when it comes to that to get better predictions and more accurate predictions. So why do you guys go about the way you report, or how do you go about it specific kind of, and why you go that route?
Yeah, I mean, specifically, that would be a Rob question. Like generally, I mean, the process for FTSOs kind of overall, and the way we would most likely do it, to my understanding, is we gather the price data from the different sources, whether the exchanges, the nodes, the aggregators, the other feeds, and then we submit them after we collect that data and clean that data. We submit the price estimates on chain at the set intervals, what we call the price epochs, and then the Flare network aggregates all of those prices, and then you know determines the final results. So really, like our job is like collecting those data feeds from all these different sources, cleaning it up, and then sending it in, and then again like making incremental improvements to the process whenever we can, because you know we know how well we did based on the reward calculation or whatever the final price that was published by Flare is. So being able to make incremental adjustments, or whether that's in the quality of the data or the speed of the data, that's usually where the big improvements lie. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process overall.
How often do y'all review that information?
Multiple times a day, I believe. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
That's
no, it's
intense.
it's
All
again
right.
like knowing like the importance of the work, right? Like that's something that you've got to be hands on and on top of constantly.
Love it. Love it. So, how do you use Flare? I'd love to hear how you and what tools you use on
Yeah,
there.
I mean personally, so I'm pretty simple in terms of like the way I interact, but I am obviously delegating, earning the Flare drop. So I've got a nice bag of wrapped Flare that's earning on both of those. And then the Flare Fair was what really got me into some of the DeFi aspect of it. Like there's so many great tools on Flare. Um, so just have like played around with some of the different DeFi protocols. You mentioned Scepter was one, Kinetic is another one. Just kind of had the same experience as you. It's just like trying a little bit here and there, just seeing what works and having fun with it.
Absolutely. I mean, we just got off like an hour and a half call with from Dave from Raindex as we were kind of reviewing that protocols and how it operates and their V2 version, and trying to help them dumb it down for us normal folks. Which, because I mean, when you get talking to these guys and these developers, and I'm sure Rob's in that same boat, man. I mean, just I could sit there for an hour because it's just so much amazing information and how they process it and the way they look at stuff. You're going, I got about 40% of that, but it
Right,
sounds
right.
incredible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like there's so much diversity in the way that you can leverage your tokens, even tokens that are staked, and being able to leverage the liquid versions of those. It's really like finding your comfort level, finding your like risk tolerance, and just trying different things. And a lot of, like you guys included, a lot of people are posting great content out there. The dApps create great content in there, just showing you how you can use it. And Flare makes it pretty simple, to be able to interact with all these different DeFi apps. So being able to just have fun and play around with it, to see what you like before you decide, okay, is this something that I want to, actively research more and put some more investment into. But there's so much great variety on Flare that, seems like there's something for everybody.
So did you watch any of the videos of the Google Hackathon and the winners? Did you get any feedback on any of those particular
Yeah, I
products?
haven't watched the videos of the hackathon specifically yet, but no, I mean, just seeing some of the photos of just like the groups involved. I mean, like having that many people involved is always great. I think the biggest thing in my experience with those hackathons, is just you get a ton of amazing builders together, to build on network and come up with these great ideas and these great products. But it's like the aftermath of that hackathon. How do we make sure that we continue to support those developers maintaining a presence or a project on Flare Network? And so for me, it's being able to reach out or provide support or be able to give shout outs to those types of projects that continue to build on Flare is what's exciting to me about it.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think the coolest thing, like at least from this last Google Hackathon, they kept like what three of them are getting rolled into Flare. They're going to be allowed to they're going to be help building on Flare, and then they're also laying that groundwork for others to use the AI
Right.
toolkit so that the next builder is going to have it a whole lot easier. And so each time those improvements are going to be incredible. But I mean, two of them really stood out to me. Like the top two, obviously, it's probably why they were top two, I guess. But the one that took the information from a screenshot and gave people the ability to copy what
Oh,
they were
right.
doing in their Robinhood portfolio to opportunities in Flare. But also I love the idea of the one about NFT um, cost analysis, because that area is so gray of the value of an NFT, and I think that gets lost on a lot of people, and that's how rugs and different things can happen. So I love that one as well. If there's a way to really show a value of an NFT.
Yeah, I think anything that can bring some more, just like transparency to NFT world, the meme coin world. I mean, again, like people have a lot of fun with those, but like you said, there's a ton of just shady operation going on in those areas. That yeah, anything that we
Yep.
can do with tools that will just make it easier for people to understand what they're getting into and not get burned. But like meme coins and NFTs like are kind of great examples of just like those are fun to like speculate on. They're like art and community kind of like rolled into one. So it's different than putting money into like a stable or XRP or something like that. Yeah, it's cool if it makes money, but the impetus for jumping into something like that should be because you connect with the community or you can connect with the artwork, something like that.
Yeah, 100%. But sadly enough, I don't think that's the
I
most common
know.
reason people are jumping in. They're like, I'm gonna get rich. I'm gonna
Exactly.
wait. I just lost everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Right,
not how that
right.
works, man. Oh, awesome. Well, does anybody else have any questions? Awesome. Well, Burst, man, I want to thank you guys for joining us. I love the website again, and Whale and I are going to do another deep dive on it here when we do our rewards here in the next when they come out the next epoch. So we'll be dropping another video about your guys' sites and different things we find as we go
Awesome.
along. So really, really like it. We enjoy playing with it, and I think he already shared, some of the things like that we found from ours to you guys. But like I said, there was a few things that I believe Flare Scan had that we thought was valuable that you guys might think about adding to
Yeah,
yours.
like anyone that's listening, make sure to check out
Squarespace.
that feedback form on our site, and then submit any ideas you
Yep.
have. And yeah, we can send you some flair if it's something we end up doing.
Awesome. Well, we'll probably do it regardless. We
Do
we
it.
love to we have no problem giving back unwanted feedback. That's not a problem for us. We have no
We will
problem.
take it all. Again, like, we want to make the site and the experience as easy as possible for everyone. But yeah, thank you so much for having us on. Love what you guys are doing. Love supporting all the content you're pushing out there. It's a huge value to the community and new people that are coming into the space, for them to be able to just, like you said, take that video or that Twitter space and be able to listen to it and learn something is amazing. So keep doing what you guys are doing.
Thanks, man. Awesome. Have a great
All
day.
right, you
Enjoy your
too.
week.
Thanks, everyone.